This is my lap harp. I do have a big harp. It's still a real harp. Anything this shape, regardless of the size, is a harp. I will try and enunciate more clearly in the second half of the program. Considered to be virtually Ireland's national composer. He lived from 1670 to 1738, so he's, although considered a folk performer and composer, his tunes tend to have sort of like a baroque / classical type feel to them, and I felt tonight, since playing in surroundings with eminent people, that I should do something a bit more highbrow than what I would normally do outside the pie shop in Baker's Hill. So I thought, oh, we'll do some O'Callaghan tunes because they're nice tunes, and I'll tell you a bit about his life. And when things get too deadly dull, I'll chuck in some tunes you know, okay? Sounds like a deal? All right. Okay. sometimes in our lives we have like life-changing events. And in the case of Mr. O'Callaghan, he didn't appear, from what we know, to have much of an interest in music at all until he was 18, and he struck down with smallpox, which in 17th century Ireland smallpox is pretty serious, and more often than not you didn't survive. In his case he survived, but he was stricken blind with it. So not a pleasant thing for a young fella, and he was basically just a small farming family. There's some legend that his father did a bit of blacksmith work, but basically they were just like peasants and had to get some money somehow. So he took training from a family friend in the Hummer, which it's something that at the time that it's something that blind people could do. They could go in the street and beg with the harp. Pretty similar to what I do these days, really. After 3 years, which is not a lot of time, particularly when you think most professional musicians that you come across these days generally start at a young age. It's not necessarily that they need to, but it's uncommon for somebody to start at 18 and then go out as a professional at 21. But he can't have been doing much else besides playing the harp in those 3 years, I suppose. What I'm going to play now is known as his first tune, called She Bed She More, which means Little Hill, Big Hill, and it was a song, like a lot of his tunes are songs because he wrote words as well, but the songs are in Gaelic, so I'm not going to sing. It's about two tribes of fairies having a war. One tribe that lived in the Big Hill and one that lived in the Little Hill. And it's his first tune that we know of, and one of his most famous. Suicide is Painless, but you'll know it possibly as a television theme tune, so you can get what it is. Self-promoter like hear these rappers, they mention their own name a lot in the rap or the song or whatever to promote themselves. Well, his tunes are called like Carolyn's Draft and Carolyn's Cup and Carolyn's this and Carolyn's that. But if they're not called that, they're generally named after the periods that he's playing for. From what I can gather, the songs that he wrote about the periods, the lyrics were similar in a lot of cases. And again, I don't speak Celtic, it'd be nice, but it resembles. You know, like when you're watching the SBS or whatever, they're talking in German, you can pick out some words. Well, Celtic, there's nothing that they say that resembles at all what, you know, so I've discounted that, I'll learn that. But the songs that he wrote, they go something like, I'm off to such and such a place to play for so-and-so, who is very generous with their wine cellar. There's some sort of like second agenda here, you know, very generous with their wine cellar, and we're going to have a party. They're the kind of lyrics that he'd sort of be coming up with these things, but as monotonous perhaps as the subject matter is, because most of them are drinking songs. He came out with some great tunes. This is called Lord Inchquin, which I presume is written for Lord Inchquin. around a long time before he was. He may have written a verse to it, that's all. And like, if he said he did at the time, I think everybody would go, yes, he did. Because we know what happens, you know. These things, they're called glissandos, they're things that the punters do. Just my mum told me off, my mum's having a 90th in a couple of weeks. My mum told me off for not doing enough of those. She says, when you do this concert, make sure you do plenty of those. So I know I'm chucking a couple. So she wanted to come tonight, but it's sort of a bit hard to get out here, getting her a lift. And she's quite mobile and liked it, but that's okay. I'm taking it so she wants to take. Hi Mum, happy birthday. I should have made you all sing happy birthday when I played the recording. Mine is passed.
We could sing happy birthday for her.
Yeah, okay, let's do that. Happy birthday. Your name's Gina, okay? All right, cut. Gina. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gina. Happy birthday to you. Oh, that's always fun. Don't make me Gina said, actually I played a couple of weeks ago down at a 90th and they got a telegram from Tony Abbott. So my mother's going to have a fit if she gets a telegram from Tony Abbott. I just hope that he doesn't do it everybody, that's all. So that would be just not real good. Oh, by the way, this is what he looked like. I brought the book, so there's only one known picture of him, and this was done during his lifetime, the commission, and the actual picture was, this is the size of the picture, so it's obviously blind. So I'll just do a quick show around, and I'll leave the book out so you can actually look about the book. And you think we'd know a lot about him because it's a big, thick book. It's the only book that sort of, it's the authority on him, but most of the book is the guy talking about how reliable the sources are. So, which are not very reliable. Ireland, 1700s. So, oh, and they only wrote melodies too. You had to make up the rest yourself. And that's still much the case with Irish music. You've got to make it up yourself. It's very much into practical jokes. He drank a bit. No, it's not like it's something the Irish do a lot. But he had a bet with a fellow poet, and the one that could drink the other one under the table didn't have to pay for the night. So he and his mate start drinking, and he manages to drink his mate under the table. Well, he assumes he does. When he hears no noise, he asks the servant to check it out. It turns out the guy's asleep. So he asked his servant to get a grain sack, because he didn't want any argument of the fellow that he wasn't really drunk or anything like that. So he got his servant to get a grain sack, and what he did is he tied the guy up in the sack. So when he woke up, he was inside the sack. So you can't really say, no, I wasn't drunk, if you wake up inside a sack. Fortunately, it's never happened. He travelled around the country like this, playing for people, writing tunes, drinking, and he did almost 50 years, which is probably quite a long lifespan in those times in that country. And he knew that he didn't have long to go, so he went home and died presumably of pneumonia. I couldn't really work out from different sources, but it's some sort of consumption, I'd say. But in his last days, when he was still good enough, he asked for a drink, and he wrote this tune, which is called Carolyn's Farewell to Music. So it's all very sad. So it's in A minor, which is a sad key. Some 30 years later, so it would have been about 1760, they decided for some reason they wanted to bury somebody else in that grave. So they dug him up and they got his head and they drilled a hole in his head and attached a green ribbon, I presume something to do with his Catholicism, green, and they got the head. I don't know what happened to the rest of the body. Got the head and they sent it to I think it was the church where the churchyard was, and had the head in the church, as you do. There are no heads in this church. I checked before we got in. I looked for heads, just like heads, no heads. And what they used to do with this head was when somebody had epilepsy, they would boil up milk and drink it out of the head. Don't know if it worked or not. They don't do it anymore, so it probably didn't work. And they use the head for other medicinal purposes. They sometimes cut a bit of the cranium and crush it up. So things have changed a bit since then, which is good. Because I really want it, you know, after I want people to do that to me. It'd be gruesome, but I just thought I'd relate that because it's interesting, you know, interesting to know our history that we used to do things like that with our body parts. And to finish off, Carolyn set with a tune that didn't write, but it's known as Carolyn's Dream. And probably because it was a tune that he really wished that he had written. He used to perform it all the time and say, I wish I'd written this tune. So I don't know the original title, but it obviously wasn't called Carolyn's Dream to start off with, but it's known as that. instead of something out of an unfortunate sheep or goat. The stick is just to balance to make it more comfortable for me. I can play without it, it's just a bit easier. The switches enable key changes. Shortens the length of the string. Universal system on all harps. All the red strings are C's, all the blue strings are F's, and all the white strings are things that aren't C's or F's. Are there any questions about the instrument? Are they still made? There are more harpists now than in the history of the world. They just don't happen to be in York. Or Canberra. Probably something to do with the fact that we have computer-aided design, so it's easier to work out harps that aren't going to implode. Also, electronic tuners, like you can tune the 26 strings using the aid of that. When even as a young fellow, when I learned how to play the guitar, there was no such thing as a tuner. You'd have to use your head to tune the instrument. So the introduction of electronic aids has made the learning of harps a lot more desirable. So they're all over the place. Certainly in Northern America is a very big harp boom, which is a good thing. And like it'll make its way out to Australia in the next few years. I'm doing my little bit here locally by travelling around my harp, and I meet people on the street that want to play harp, and I connect them with teachers and I help them find instruments. So I do my bit.
So is it an easy instrument to play, or is it expensive?
I would love to say it's an easy instrument to play. Out of all the instruments I play, it's probably the most difficult.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. The good news is, anything you play on it sounds not too bad. Okay? So I shouldn't be giving secrets away like that, because next year they'll hire a different harpist, won't they? But like you can sit there and some people do. And it sounds good. So when you are a student of the harp, you immediately start to, well, I thought it sounded good. You immediately start to get good feedback about it, you know. You can sort of, can't make it sound as nasty as you can other instruments, you know. Expense-wise, this is probably the cheapest instrument that I would ever play, myself consider playing, and this one was $2,000. The harps you see in an orchestra start at the price of a new four-wheel drive. I believe the one that they have for Wazzo cost $250,000. Just, that's what I've heard. Having said that, you can get this particular harp in a kit form, and if you're handy, make it yourself. And, you know, so there's always options if you're a good woodworker, but we haven't got any harp makers in WA that I know of. A few over east in Tasmania, but not locally. So yeah, price is a problem with the instrument. If your 4-year-old daughter, granddaughter says, "Oh, I want to play the harp," you start them on something that's a bit less thing first, and see if they gravitate towards music at all.
So it's not a music that a normal luthier would make?
Not really. Like somebody like Scott Weiss or somebody like that. No, you know, like it's a specialist thing. There's things like, if you look at the front bit, which we call the column, it's off to the side. It's not straight up and down. And it needs to be off to on an angle, because the strings, there's so much pressure, tension in these strings, that if you had it straight, it just pull straight over. And it's one of the reasons that out of the ground we've only dug up 19 harps from the Middle Ages and before, because they just, they've got a limited lifespan. Oh, we're getting on. I wanted to play some organ tunes, so I didn't want to take up too much of your time, because there's tucker out here. But one of the big thrills about getting here tonight was to get on this, and I've always wanted to get on this. And then this afternoon I found, oh, I can't actually play this.
Yeah.
Because I'm a piano player and it's a lot different. I've got Michael Jones here, he's an excellent piano player. I will tell you, because I wanted to agree with him, tell you that it's a lot different from actually playing the piano. Nevertheless, put it on. Let's see. Yeah. Oh no. Oh, real musicians, so why not that? I'm going to get you leave 20 hours on the keys after I finish now. Thanks, Lee. So I had to practice this afternoon, we'll get our hands on these things. I was told if I did that I'd get a laugh out. I'm going to tell the guy it's bad material. Pipe organs sort of got a bit of a bad name, even though they're wonderful instruments. In the 80s when hobby keyboards became popular, I can't remember, it's either the 6th or 7th sound of all these hobby keyboards is labelled pipe organ. It's something to do with a thing called general MIDI, but that's not even weird. And none of these hobby keyboards sound anything like a pipe organ. So I don't know if any of you have come across those or had that experience, but unfortunately, because they would say pipe organ, people think, oh, I don't know that. But this is actually one of the most wonderful instruments that I've had the opportunity to play on, even if I was going this afternoon that I was that flash, but I'll play a couple of things. This is something that I wrote many years ago myself. It was off an album that a CD I put out in 1995 called Feelings Mutual, that we don't talk about anymore because I didn't sell many copies. And it seems that I might have only sold 100 copies, but 200 copies turned up in second-hand shops, so it really wasn't a happy ending, but I liked the tune, so I played it. usual audience I get, they just eat the pie, oh, that's all right, and walk off. You know, this is better dynamic. A whole bunch of you, I just feel like I get to know you a bit, tell you some of my history. It's been it's been a great experience.